Hey everyone, Jennifer Lee Chan here from NBC Sports Bay Area, and more injuries on the defense and at special teams. So Kyle Shanahan just spoke to us on his Monday morning conference call, day after game, usual thing, and Tatum Bethune does have a high ankle sprain, so he will be week to week. They do not expect to put him on IR with the way the bye sets up. He will be out for a couple weeks. Um, you never know with ankles. It could heal up more quickly. It could take a little bit more time. So they are hoping that he is back within 3 or 4 weeks, potentially. Curtis Robinson would be the guy that they would go with. They could move Jalen Graham up from the practice squad, but this is another blow to the defense that has already lost Nick Bosa, Michael Williams, and most importantly, Fred Warner. So now Tatum Bethune is out for several weeks. Um, Curtis Robinson did a nice job going out there. But I always say the first string guys are the first string guys for a reason. Second string guys are the second string guys for a reason. The play, Curtis Robinson is a fantastic player and a Stanford grad, really, really smart, can assess what is going on the field, but he doesn't have a whole lot of experience. And I know he's been getting ready for it. But it's gonna be another adjustment period for this 49ers defense that is really, really young, and it makes it even more important that the offense puts up a ton of points. Also, Eddy Piñeiro, grade 1 hamstring strain, which means he's out for a couple weeks. So they are going to work out kickers on Monday and Tuesday, maybe Tuesday and Wednesday. We are not back at the facility until Thursday. That's when they have their next practice. It is a Victory Monday day off for everybody. They play on Monday night, so they have a little extra time this week to recover, which is good, which, also makes the next week a short week. But this week they have a little extra time, so they're getting away from each other a little bit today, is what Kyle Shanahan said. And then they will resume watching film and recovering and getting ready. I'm sure a lot of guys are still at the facility day after, just taking care of their bodies, which is what normally happens. But now the front office, scouting department, whatnot, has to look for linebackers that are available and kickers that are out there. Matt Mayoka did ask Kyle Shanahan if they were interested in Justin Tucker, and Kyle Shanahan said, have not spoken about any kicker whatsoever, name-wise, as of right now. I just don't think that the 49ers want to bring in a guy who has as much baggage as Justin Tucker does. Um, for a couple weeks. Their guy is Eddy Piñeiro. I know they'd like to keep it that way. I know they would hope that he'd stay healthy. Um, grade 1 hamstrings, usually 1 to 3 weeks, depending on how he recovers from it. So he could be back in 2 weeks. Maybe he's back after the bye, but that's the guy who they want to roll with. And so bringing another kicker in, it's another roster juggling type thing. So I don't think it's a guy who has a lot of baggage. Why would you, for a couple weeks, bring a guy in who has so much baggage as Justin Tucker does? So, there are some guys out there who they're going to have to look at. And again, Tuesday, Wednesday, they're going to have some guys come in and work out, and we'll see how it goes. I'll keep my eye on the wire to make sure you guys know about any tryouts they do have, but expect to see those on Tuesday or Wednesday. Robert Beal is in the concussion protocol. He is a guy who was in instead of Cleveland Ferrell. So I would think, I don't know how bad it is. All concussions are bad, but the grade of it, we don't know. So if we see on Thursday that he's got a blue non-contact jersey on and he's out on the field, then he could progress and be in Monday's game. They do have an extra day, so that could happen. But as far as whether he's back or not, we just won't know. We'll know a little bit more as the week goes on. But they do have Cleveland Ferrell, who was a healthy scratch, along with Kevin Gibbons, who was a healthy scratch. He's more of a defensive tackle, but they do have a little bit of depth on that defensive line because they brought in Keon White and Cleveland Ferrell recently. I did ask Kyle Shanahan about the decision-making process in Kevin Gibbons and Cleveland Ferrell not being active for the game. And he said, we just wanted to get some guys up. I know they were really trying to focus on stopping the run, which is why they brought in CJ West. Kevin Gibbons is a guy who they obviously really like. He's been around the 49ers for a really long time. I know they really like him. I think I understand that one a little bit more because it's a guy who, CJ West, who they want to get more game experience. So having Kevin Gibbons down, he's been a solid guy, but I kind of understand Kevin Gibbons or CJ West getting in there for more game experience as a young guy. Cleveland for Robert Beal, I'm not sure um, what the pros and cons are. They just said they wanted to get different guys in there. So I know they know what they have in Cleveland for all, but I was surprised that he was a healthy scratch. I was on KNBR with Greg Papa and Greg Silver, and Greg Papa also was surprised. So I'm glad my opinion is validated by Greg Papa, who knows more about football than most people. Also was wondering why Cleveland Ferrell was inactive. So I would expect him to be active on Monday for the Monday night game against the Carolina Panthers, especially with Robert Beal coming through with a concussion. So obviously the protocol is outside the league. It's independent counsel, and they'll decide whether Robert Beal is healthy enough to return to practice in the game or not. As far as Brock Purdy coming back with his toe injury, no indication that there was anything that went wrong at all. Kyle Shanahan did not speak to Brock Purdy on Monday, but he did speak to him after the game and he thought everything went fine. And neither one of them, both of them said, neither one of them thought about the toe injury throughout the game when he got tackled on the 14-yard loss sack. No one thought twice about the toe injury, and Brock Purdy came out of the game just fine. Same for Ricky Pearsall, came out of the game fine as well. Kyle Shanahan actually said he didn't think that Ricky Pearsall had much rust. He thought he played a good game. I think what Ricky Pearsall does is open up stuff for other people. I know he was disappointed with having 15 friends and family at the game that he didn't catch more than one target of his three and for no yards. I'm sure he wanted to have a better game than that. But what he does for the offense is stretch the offense out and gives other people opportunities. And sometimes it just works out that way where, a guy being on the field may not get a ton of opportunities, but because he's on the field, it opens up opportunities for other guys like George Kittle, like Jauan Jennings on that first route when they were bunched up on the side. Ricky Pearsall was that lead wide receiver, and Jauan Jennings got a little bit more soft coverage, and Brock Purdy found him and went straight to Jauan Jennings for a first down. So sometimes just being on the field creates opportunities for others. So I think that's what Ricky Pearsall did. And Kyle Juszczyk told me after the game, he said, I could feel the difference in the way the defense was approaching them with Ricky Pearsall, who can stretch the field. So I think that, we'll see more from Ricky Pearsall. And I'm sure as both Brock and Ricky spend more time on the practice field together, that we'll see more production, more numbers, more stats for Ricky Pearsall going forward. But I thought it was a nice game, a nice balanced game for the 49ers with a lot of run yards and a lot of pass yards and just an efficient game. Uh, and we saw it with, 41 points put up. So the big question is now, who do they get to replace Tatum Bethune? And then, so Nick Martin could get some time, Jalen Graham could get some time as well, but Curtis Robinson looks to be the guy who will take over with the green dot. And, a very, very smart guy, good football intelligence. So I think he's a guy who's played well. And, his highest snap count of his career was in Arizona. And, the more experience he gets, I think the better he'll get. It just will be an adjustment period again for a guy who doesn't have a whole lot of experience there. But, I think the team has a lot of confidence in him. And I think that speaks volumes. Um, as far as everybody else's health, I think it's good. There were no other injuries reported. Um, but I asked Kyle Shanahan also about the yardage Jacoby Brissett put up. Just ridiculous numbers. I mean, they had 488 yards of offense, for goodness sakes, 452 yards through the air. And so I asked Kyle Shanahan, I'm like, okay, what did you see from coverage? I mean, he put up a ton of numbers and he said sometimes games just work out that way where it's a lot of yards. And he said, yeah, it sucks. But he said he was proud of the guys for the way they grinded it out and didn't say a whole lot about the fact that some defenders had, where every single target was a completion or touchdowns or whatnot. He was happy that they got the turnovers finally. He thought there were some great big plays by, Deommodore Lenoir, Upton Stout, the forced fumble on the goal line. I think it was also the assist by the Cardinals themselves, giving themselves 17 penalties, which helped a lot, 130 yards there. And it was like penalties on third downs and penalties on the goal line and penalties when they were starting to move the ball, penalties that pushed them back out of, range of a makeable field goal. They just really went one step forward, two steps back the entire game. So Uh, we'll we'll see kind of more this week. Kyle Shanahan said of Curtis Robinson again, did a hell of a job. He thought the whole defense was battling 82 plays out there because of there were 71 plays as far as offense recorded by the Cardinals, but with all the penalties, I think it landed up to 82 plays, which is crazy. Um, but I think the best news is that the offense came out of the game healthy. So I also think that Dominic Puni is starting to feel better. The PCL that he suffered in the preseason is finally starting to calm down a little bit. And I think that that's helped him. I mean, there were some really nicely blocked plays by the offensive line, but Dominic Puni was out as a lead blocker a couple times. And I just think, part of it is him getting healthier and just more experience and more time in the offense. So I think that helps a lot. So big tasks this week as 49ers is adjusting to Curtis Robinson being their middle linebacker and finding a replacement for Eddy Piñeiro for a couple of weeks. Kyle Shanahan also said Jacob Cowing's window could open after the bye, and he's a few weeks out. And then Brandon Ayuk still week to week. He's got to let them know when he feels healthy enough to open his practice window, and that has not happened yet. So still waiting to hear about that, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Lots of changing, moving parts this week, heading into Carolina Panthers on Monday night. Again, no practice on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday this week. Thursday is their first day of practice, and we'll be up there to talk to Kyle Shanahan after a few days off. So I'll have more from you here, of course. So stay tuned. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or you want me to cover anything in particular, please let me know. If you missed my broadcast last night, Tatum Bethune just looked distraught, talking on the phone when he had the walking boot on at leaving the locker room. He had to wait for a cart to take him out to the buses because the buses are on the opposite, complete diagonal opposite, the furthest it could be away from the 49ers locker room. So he was given a ride to the buses and was in a walking boot. So high ankle sprain for Tatum Bethune, wishing, of course, all players that are injured to have quick and healthy recoveries. So more coming soon, and I'll talk to you guys later. Hope you're well.